Welcome to our week of action. We are here to celebrate climate innovators and entrepreneurs from all over the world. I'm Christian Daube. I'm leading efforts at growing a community of ClimAccelerators all over the world, which are partners helping these entrepreneurs to scale their innovations into international markets. This week of action is powered by EIT Climate Kick. At EIT Climate Kick, we are focused on generating knowledge and innovation within our community of partners to really fight climate and be more positive in climate. That's our main purpose, and that's what we are here for. That's why we will have an interview today with Cristina. She's co-founding and leading Bound for Blue. And before I introduce her, please, audience, today is our day of energy. As soon as you have any innovations or ideas you're working on in the energy field, please feel free to share them under our hashtag destination 1.5. Again, feel free to share it in any of the networks, hashtag destination 1.5. All right, and please, audience, as soon as you have any questions or you're very curious, please ask these questions to Cristina now. Ask her about her journey as an entrepreneur, about her future as an entrepreneur. Challenge her a little bit, right? I do believe I have Cristina with me here right now and connected. Hi, Cristina. How are you doing?
Hi, fine.
Good to meet you, and thanks for having you here. Cristina, I will ask you in the beginning a bit more about your company, Bound for Blue, and to understand more what it is all about. And then afterwards, I will ask you more about you as an entrepreneur and what your journey as an entrepreneur was. I will ask you some challenging questions, and at the end, we will have time for questions from the audience. So, Cristina, introduce a bit more about Bound for Blue and tell us what it is about.
So Bound for Blue was born in 2014-15, like at the end of 14. And what we do is we deliver automated wind propulsion technologies for the shipping industry. So basically what we are using is technology that was used before, conventional sails, and we are transforming it thanks to the technology that's available today. And we have developed a wind-assisted propulsion system that basically, when installed on a vessel, it uses the wind to push the ship forward and reduces the pollutant emissions and the fuel consumption of vessels.
Okay, I think you have to explain it for someone like me who doesn't know much about this industry. What do you mean by putting up a sail on a vessel? Like, is it these small boats, let's say, or moving around a few people, or is it huge container ships? What kind of boats, what kind of vessels?
So our technology can be installed in nearly all types of vessels. A lot of people think about container ship vessels, so that would be, I would say, near to the segment that you cannot install the technology because there's no available space. But to all other vessels, it can be installed if there is available space. So tankers, bulkers, ferries, fishing vessels, and so on. So 80% of the global fleet can benefit from this type of solution.
Okay. So tell us a bit more about, like, when did you start Bound for Blue? In what moment are you in right now?
So the company started some years ago, like 7 years ago. And it started just when I finished my master at the university. And in fact, my project was about Bound for Blue and the interaction between the sails, the aerodynamic interaction. So I'm an aeronautic engineer, as well as my two co-founders, Jose Miguel and David. And we saw that the solution for the shipping industry was inside our own industry. And while Jose was watching the television one day, he thought, how is it possible that the vessels are not using sails like they did centuries ago? And wind is available, it's free, and instead of using pollutant fuels, why are they using this type of technology? So what we did was adapt this technology that was well known in the aeronautics industry, but to the shipping industry. And that's why the technology has to be autonomous, it has to orientate towards the wind, which is something that is not done in the aeronautics industry. And there's much more technology involved, so we had to adapt this technology, and at the end, we developed a novel one. So that's how everything started.
Okay, and in which moment are you with Bound for Blue? I mean, are you already going to market? Are you already selling? Are you testing some of your products already? In which moment are you?
So we've had a prototyping phase at the beginning. We developed the technology at a full scale. We tested it on ground. We also went to wind tunnel testings before. Right now, some months ago, we installed the first technology, full scale one, 12-meter high wing sail on a fishing vessel in Panama, which has been operated during the last months. And right now we are performing another installation on a cargo vessel, a small cargo vessel, which is owned by a theater vessel, so quite special. And I believe all European citizens will be able to see it in the following months. So we are entering in this commercial phase and starting to scale up the technology. So we are delivering 3 models, which are different in terms of size, but at the end it's the same technology. It's a rigid sail, and right now we're at this stage, entering just in this pre-commercial phase.
And how are you putting up a 12-meter, let's say, sail on such a big boat? I mean, what logistics is there behind? And are these logistics really helping us to move to a climate positive world?
So there's 2 things here. So one of them, right now we are manufacturing in Europe, and we deliver this technology with in a Ro-Ro vessel. So that's the way we shipped it to Panama. And obviously, manufacturing and transporting this technology has a negative impact. But when you balance it and you see the impact that it has while using it, it's much more higher. So during our acceleration program with Climate Kick, we were able to use one of their tools, which is the climate impact assessment tool, and we were able to achieve a very good result. And by implementing our technology in all the available fleet that can install the technology, that's the 80% of the fleet, we would reduce shipping CO2 emissions by more than 22%. So that's very positive. So at the end, obviously it has a negative impact, but the positive one is so high that it really diminishes that one.
And that's very good to hear. I mean, let's imagine I'm based here in Copenhagen, right? And I can see ferries and vessels going to Germany, going to Norway, to Sweden every single day, right? They're quite huge, lots of stories, lots of lore. So let's imagine I'm the owner of this corporate who's sending these vessels every day on a journey. Why should I really buy your product? You really need to convince me. Why should I buy your product? Why should I take all this effort to put it on my vessels? And what about, I mean, how safe is it? And why should I buy this, basically?
So that's an easy question at the end. More or less, fuel accounts for 60% of the operating expenses of ship owners, and at the end, it's the highest expense that they have. And this is going to have a higher impact in their operating expenses, in their P&L. And that's because there are new regulations coming up. So we saw in 2020 that ship owners had to switch from heavy fuel oil to low sulfur fuel oil or marine gas oil. And at the end, this also had an impact in terms of cost. But the new regulations that are coming up are much more stricter, and they are looking for 50% reductions in terms of CO2 for 2050. And that will obviously have a negative impact there. And at the end, installing this type of technology, which is available today, is able to make them transition with this new regulatory framework and minimizing these operating expenses. So they will be able to benefit from a 30% fuel reduction and also having a positive impact. So at the end, sustainability does not have to be only sustainable in the sense that reducing emissions, but also be profitable. And we are offering these profitable solutions for them, which are able to get this payback of the technology of less than 5 years. With the customers we are right now, they're approximately around 3 years. So that's a very good result in this industry for hardware technology.
Okay, you're starting to convince me. I just thought, okay, as a corporate owner, I think about saving my costs or increasing my revenues, right, to increase my profit. And I was just thinking, okay, when is my return of investment? You just said 3 years. Let's say, like, does it take, when I have like 4 or 5 ships out there, does it take 3 years or is it longer? Is it really 3 years?
It depends on the wind conditions, obviously. But on North Pacific routes, North Atlantic routes that are very good routes there are a lot of vessels navigating. They can benefit from this type of solution. Obviously, vessels that are navigating maybe in the Mediterranean will not have that good wind conditions, and that payback will be much higher. We never reached in a business case that we performed payback higher than 10 years. And at the end, we are right now addressing those that have the best payback period, but they will be also able to benefit from CO2 taxations. So they will be also able to lower this payback in these wind areas where they are navigating. So these vessels will be able to benefit from lower paybacks too. But right now we're focusing in this market with higher benefits from this type of technology.
Okay, very good, very good. And I think I will ask you one last question about Bound for Blue, and then I'm curious about the industry. Where do you want to take or see Bound for Blue in a few years? How will it look like?
What we want to do in Bound for Blue is make our rigid sails a standard in shipping. So right now there are only 15 vessels more or less navigating with this type of wind propulsion technology. But we would like to make it a standard, and that all vessels that can use this technology are able should have it installed by that time, and the new vessels also being built with these technologies. So the good thing about our technology is that it can be used with other renewable fuels, and it is available today, being able to offer double-digit fuel savings, and it is something that cannot be achieved with any other technology nowadays. So what we see is that the sails will be able to make this transition better for them, and in the long term, it will be can be fully used with other technologies too. So being a standard in the industry.
Okay. And what about the industry and competition or alternatives? Like, what do you see out there? Who's who's got a good alternative to you?
So alternatives today could be installing scrubbers, for instance, or at least some years ago, I would say. The thing is that they're not that clean. So what scrubbers do, for instance, is like you are using this heavy fuel oil and you are somehow getting less pollutants in the air, but at the end they're going to the water because sometimes it's polluting our oceans too. That's why several ports are banning the entrance of certain types of vessels with these types of technology. So you have the open loop and the closed loop. Some of them are pollutants, some of them not, but at the end you have it in a liquid form and you have to do something with these pollutants. This is not that good technology. It even increases the fuel consumption. It obviously has a good impact in the operating expenses because you're able to use less expensive fuel, but it's not good in the long term. So it's not a long-term solution. You're also able to use software technologies, but they do not offer this 20-30% fuel reduction. So the impact is much lower, but as I told you, it can be used at the same time as you have the sail. So we are fully compatible between each other. You also have other wind-assisted propulsion technologies, which work quite differently and work in different wind conditions and have different lifetime usage. There are a lot of other technologies going on. We obviously have this transition to renewable fuels, but at the end, we are at this early stage. And as I see it myself, and as we see it in Bound for Blue, this solution is not going to be unique. Not only in a general, not only in the shipping industry, but generally speaking. So it's not just about the energy that will rule the world. It's about a combination of a lot of technologies that will be able to make this world sustainable and making business in a profitable way also.
Yeah. And how do you see the maritime industry in the next years? Will the amount of vessels and ships cruising around increase, or are there other alternatives of transport coming up that these amounts will decrease actually? What do you think?
So at the end, shipping nowadays transport 80% of the worldwide trade. It is like the backbone of the global economy, and we've seen in the last months and even in the last weeks recently how this impact. So we've seen container ship vessels that are not arriving to ports, the press is also speaking about the Christmas time, that we will not be able to have the things we want for that time. I mean, shipping will be increasing, and that's the trend that is seen. Shipping will be still significant. There are certain things that will still have to be transported. Everything that goes on tankers or bulkers will have to be transported. Obviously, there are 3D printers and so on, but at the end, this is not the cargo in the majority that it's transported in shipping. So shipping will still be relevant. And how do I see it? I mean, shipping has been throughout a lot of years not adopting novel technologies at the end. And what we've seen in the automotive industry, which is one of the industries which has been much more innovative throughout all of the years, we will see it also in the shipping industry. So if we're seeing autonomous cars, we will see autonomous vessels in the future, maybe mid-term, long-term, but we will see them. If we're seeing how data is used also in cars, we will see it also in vessels. So nowadays, there are not that much vessels that are using this data to improve the efficiency, but this will also become a standard in the future. So renewable energy too will be in the shipping industry. There will be a huge transformation, and I suppose there is a lot of talent that can go inside the industry.
Okay, very good. And I think that's a curious industry and a huge industry, and lots of technologies will happen. Cristina, I will now ask you a bit more about your journey as an entrepreneur. And audience, please remember to post in any questions you have to Cristina about this. So Cristina, big question. What motivates you every day to be a climate innovator and entrepreneur and to do this kind of work?
So that's something quite funny, and I had like a switch. I had something in a click in my mind. So at the beginning, when I started One for Blue, I remember going up to a stage and presenting and feeling a lot of nerves. And one day I realized that that was like something I was looking inside me, but not looking to the purpose. And that day I realized that the purpose was much more bigger, and just the nervous disappeared. And I believe that is this purpose, our mission, to make this world a more environmentally friendly world, to really bring technological solutions to the citizens, to the industries, so everyone can benefit from it. We will be able to benefit because there will be obviously less pollutants, which obviously have a lot of harm, not only to our planet, but to ourselves, causing a lot of deaths. We will be able to create jobs with these technologies, high value-added jobs, and obviously create this industry with this positive impact. So at the end, this purpose that we have in the company that's much bigger than anything else, which really keeps us working every day.
And why, let's ask another question. I will be asking you a bit about your best, your worst moments and your funniest moments. So what was your worst moment in this whole history as an entrepreneur?
So one of the worst ones, but I mean, I always say that from these moments you learn a lot, but was at the beginning of the company with no knowledge about business. We started approaching VCs, and there was this VC which waited to the last month when we were running out of money to increase the valuation of the company, to decrease, the valuation so much that it was like a joke for us. We couldn't go to our investors to tell them that the valuation was so low, and we were like running out of money with a lot of people. We were building systems, and we fortunately were able to find another investor to follow up, and with a good valuation also that enabled other investors in the company to be happy too. That's one of the not worst, but the challenging ones. Challenging in that sense of being able to continue. And then there's other ones like when you build the technology, and that's a big challenge. We started with smaller ones, scale ones, but then we realized that scaling them up was even much more difficult because the mechanisms that we were building could not be scaled up in the same way. So then when we realized that was like money lost in that sense, so we had to start building parts of the bigger unit. So that's challenges where we've learned a lot. So I believe that these moments that challenge you are the ones that really make you closer to the final solution, closer to the market, and closer to your mission. And the funniest one, I think we share a lot of things like this with our co-founders. So I remember this one is story of David's story. So he was with his grandfather, and his grandfather said, "So when are you going to start working? Really? Like." I also have one of these with my sister, so I'm going to pay the meal because you're not working. It's like, okay, entrepreneurs really do work, but sometimes like the society or the people that surround us really do not understand what we are doing, and I mean, there's a lot of like telling them, and yeah, so that's funny moments.
So what did you tell them? What do you usually tell them then really is? How do you explain them how an entrepreneur, especially in climate, is?
So, I mean, some of them maybe don't understand it at all, but at the end, when years go by and they see what you're achieving, so at the beginning it's much more difficult. I remember this conversation with my sister. Okay, I said, I'm not going to go to the corporate world. And she was, well, she's a lawyer, she was working in big corporations. And I'm going to do this. And it was like, okay, this is a crazy idea. Where are you going to get money? How are you going to build a company if you have no knowledge? You're an engineer yourself. How are you going to convince the customers? This is too far away. You're not realistic. But when you start building the prototypes and you have this mission inside you, and it's not yourself, it's what you are building, what it's the final purpose of everything. And then you start showing them what you have achieved, and that becomes a bigger reality. So you turn this idea, and you're like this mad person sitting in this restaurant, and later on you're more realistic, no, for them. And I mean, it's just achieving goals, mini goals that don't have to be that big when they start to realize. But obviously, it takes time. And at the beginning, it was like, when are you really going to build a real scale unit? Are you going to be able to build it sometimes? And it's okay, we're in the research and development phase, so just wait a little bit more.
I mean, these are very good stories, and I want to ask you a bit more about your relationship with your co-founders. How did you find them? How is your relationship with them? And what do they think about Bound for Brew in the future?
So Jose Miguel and David, they work together in another startup. They, in fact, studied together in university, so they are 5 years bigger than me, older, sorry. And the thing is that they work together, so they knew each other. They had, although having studied, the three of us, aeronautical engineering, they had different profiles. So David is more technical and Jose is more in the business part. And we met while I was studying at university, so I knew them throughout the career. And this was Jose Miguel's idea. So I spoke with him and I told him, hey, I don't want to do my final project master about something that's not going to be built. I want to build something that's going to be a reality someday. And that's how I started working with them, and how we decided to launch a company later on when I finished this project. So that's how we met. That's not that fancy. I mean, we had this relationship in the engineering part. We studied at the same university, and that's all we saw. We were complementary, and we decided to start because the market was there. The problem was there. It was getting much harder for the ship owners, and it was the moment to start.
Is it easy for you to take decisions, all three of you, or do you have really different points of view?
So obviously there are different points of view, but at the end, one of us always takes the decision. So we realize that there are certain areas where one of us has like more power in that sense. For instance, in the technical side, maybe it's David, but it really does not have to do only with us. But sometimes it's not us taking the decision, but someone else in the team that has much more information and knows much more in that sense, and takes the decision at the end. So, I mean, it's about this bigger purpose and not about me convincing the rest because I want to have the truth, but because the truth is there, and it's not like this individuality in the sense.
Very good, very good, very good. And tell us a bit more about how you're recruiting and how your team looks like.
So right now we are 22 in the team. It was really good to count the other day that we speak more than 10 languages in the team. So we have people from France, from US, people from Italy, from Spain, and throughout Spain, really the general, I mean, not only in Barcelona and Cantabria. And that's pretty cool. We also had people from Germany. We are quite open, and I believe that this diversity is bringing much more to the project than being just the Spaniards working in it, right? I mean, as in the maritime industry that we see that there are no women practically, so you see that there are like 2% of seafarers are women, 1 out of 10 ocean entrepreneurs are women, and that is a lacking talent that the industry is not using. We want to bring it. We want to change the industry, making it more sustainable, but we also start with ourselves. We have to start also with ourselves. So what we see in the industry that we don't like, that it's this lack of talent and diversity, not only gender diversity, but worldwide diversity, we want to bring it to the table also in our company. So this is one of the things that really distinguishes our team. We come with different backgrounds, so we are not only engineers, we also come from the business side. We have people from the maritime industry. We have people from the aeronautics industry like us, and we also have people from the wind farms, the eolic part. So we're bringing a lot of knowledge from a lot of industries. And something quite curious is that we hire not by what you have studied, but what you are able to achieve. So my colleague Tina, for instance, she's an architect, but she's working in the financial part. So we are not searching for financing people to work in the financial part. So it's much more. I mean, you don't have to be categorized in one thing to work here. And that's something that really brings a lot of different views and diversity too.
And I think I like that diversity. Very cool mix, and I like that diversity. Cristina, let me ask you a bit about the help you had on your way. You mentioned you participated in a few programs. You mentioned that you have some investors. What kind of help had you had on your way, basically?
So I would say that the biggest help was participating in Climate Kick acceleration program. So that was our beginning with Climate Kick. So we didn't know them, and if we had knew them before, I know that we should have. I mean, we should have engaged much earlier in the other programs that Climate Kick has. So it was really useful for us. They gave us a lot of visibility. They helped us redefine our business model, which in fact has brought us accelerated our market readiness in that sense. It also helped us at convincing investors, so being able to raise more funds to proceed with our business. And later on, it gave us much more opportunities. So we were able to benefit from the COVID response initiative, and we were able to get 500,000 euros from Climate Kick to continue delivering our solutions to European citizens and worldwide. And later on, and that's more personal, I was able to benefit also from EIT by winning the EIT Women Award, which has given me a lot of visibility in a male-dominated industry like the one I'm working on. And other things that have also helped us, aside from Climate Kick, so we have received a lot of support from the government of Cantabria in the northern part of Spain, also from the government of Spain, throughout the NISA, and also throughout CBTI, which is part of the Ministry of Science and Innovation here. We have also received European Union funding throughout 2 European Union grants. And recently we have also received, we have received confirmation that we are one of the EIC companies to receive funding in the form of blended option, which will enable us in the next years to scale up in terms of company industrialization capabilities and scale up the commercialization phase. So there are a lot of supports from governments, both regionally and nationally and at the European level. And at the European level, obviously, Climate Kick for us has been key.
And very good support you had on your way. Who was your best mentor? If you could name one person, who was your best mentor on this way, and why was he or she your best mentor?
I would say that the team has been like the best mentors because we lack the knowledge in certain parts. And people coming to the team has brought a lot of experience, which has helped us to see things in other ways. Also, the advisors that have come up, we realized that we lacked knowledge in the shipping industry, and that was even very difficult to gain connections in the industry by bringing just the team members. So obviously, the advisors have helped us throughout the way. The advisors. We also had an advisor, well, it's not more than an advisor, but more like a mentor during the climate acceleration program, which was very key for me to see the market in another way and to really redefine our target customer and how we were going to approach them and more like the marketing and commercial part. So that was really useful. And at a personal level, I would say my mathematics teacher while I was studying, because I was going to study medicine and not aeronautics, so I wouldn't be here. So the two of them at the end, when you see the things throughout the years, there are decisions that you take that have a huge impact and define where you are, like right me now. So what I studied and what I'm doing is because I decided to study engineering and not medicine. So this professor has a lot of impact too. So that's a mentor.
And great that you're here, especially as a female climate entrepreneur and innovator. I think that's very good. One last question, Cristina, and then we will go to the questions from the audience if we have. Cristina, I will ask you to send out a message to different audiences, right? And really to motivate them and to engage them. I think the first message is, what would you say to the governments out there, especially because we will have the United Nations Climate Conference in the next weeks, COP26. What would you say to the governments and policymakers out there?
To my Spanish politicians, I would say them that it's impossible if we follow the same path. Solar panels, for instance, are available today, but if you look at 2019, we only had in Spain 1% of the same solar panels that Germany have, although having 75% more solar hours per year. So I mean, there's much more to do in the government part, and this has to do with Spain, and I'm here and I know Spain, but I suppose that this can also happen in other parts of Europe too. So climate change does not wait. There is money coming by, and they have to spend it wisely and to make this energy transition possible. And sustainability can be profitable, so look very well which solutions will mark the future of the European citizens. So that's like one of my main messages, maybe too ambitious, but...
That's all right. We need to be ambitious to really move towards a climate positive world. Cristina, next one. What would you say to investors of all types out there?
There is a risk, but higher risks have higher returns. So we've seen a lot of change when we started. VCs were a little bit more reluctant to invest in climate initiatives and projects. But today, sustainability is at the core of all businesses, and it will be, even if they don't want. So this is a moment that, or they embark in this journey, or they do not embark, but this return on investment will be very high if they invest in these types of companies. So keep investing in climate impact projects and initiatives, and you will be rewarded in the mid and long term.
Okay, very good. Next one. What would you say to startup programs, organizations who help startups every day? What would you tell them?
Engage with other ones. There are a lot of startups about climate impact projects, but none of them worked as good as Climate Kick. So there's something that is lacking there, and maybe not focusing, like I told before, on oneself, but on the main purpose. What's the purpose? The purpose is to bring these projects to the market and help them. So it's not about having one accelerator, and yours being the best, and a lot of them together, but having one unique and concentrating energies and forces to bring them to the market and to help them and to achieve this transition.
Very good, thank you. The last one, we may have quite a few entrepreneurs and innovators in this audience. What advice would you give them?
I would tell them to start as soon as possible. There are a lot of things that will bring you back. your sister, your grandfather, maybe. But I mean, your vision is realistic, and if it is, and there is a market, there is a problem, and you can solve it, whether with technology, with software, hardware, whatever type of technology, go ahead and start it, because climate change is not wait, and there are a lot of resources that you can use to get to that point. So being afraid is okay, and this would be worse is not trying and realizing years later that you would have generated a good impact. If you're not an entrepreneur, you can also be an intra-entrepreneur, so you can also change things from inside big corporations. So there's no need to start up your company, but you can make a lot of change on your daily day in the corporate world.
Very good advice. I totally agree. Cristina, just give me a few seconds. I will check out the questions we have or may have from the audience, and then I will come back to you. Just give me a few seconds, please. Okay, Cristina, here I am back. I've got a few questions coming up. I will raise the first one. As a woman entrepreneur, what would you say to other women who are thinking of being entrepreneurs?
That's a very good question. Some of them really, they ask me, why the hell did I enter this market? Well, this industry, which is so male dominated. I didn't know that it was that male dominated, but I would have stepped in anyways. I mean, your ambition and your purpose has to be higher than this fear inside and what you feel. There are a lot of companies, there are a lot of initiatives like Climate Kick, even inside EIT, there is women entrepreneurship initiatives, and you will be able to benefit too, and they will be able to help you. I believe entrepreneurship has nothing to do about being women and men, but I suppose that there are a lot of things that come into our minds as women when we want to step in a male-dominated industry. But it's time for change, and you can also be part of this change. So by entering in this market, you can be like a role model for other ones to join in and step inside this type of industries. So you can make a change too, not only in the industry, but also making it more diverse too. So don't think it twice, just go inside.
And I think you are like playing this role model and motivating. I do believe so. Next question. Why has it taken the shipping industry so much time to transition, and what do we need to accelerate this change?
At the end, we obviously think about the shipping industry as a highly pollutant, and it is, but in terms of cargo transported per mile, it's the more sustainable one. So it was left aside from the Paris Agreement because it is governed all the regulatory framework by the International Maritime Organization. It has taken a lot of time because there are governments inside, there are corporates, there are a lot of people like putting pressure at the top about how things have to go. The industry itself is fragmented in terms of vision of how it should be, so how this transition should also follow. And that's why it's taking a lot of time. But the moment is now. I mean, they have realized that they cannot do business as usual, and that's why the IMO is pushing a lot to make this regulatory framework stricter for the ship owners. And obviously, I think that it hasn't gone that quickly because there was not that much technology available for them to make this transition. And at the end, you cannot ask an industry to transform it radically if they do not have a means to do it possible. So I believe that the moment has arrived. There is technology getting in. We are even seeing a boom in the number of M&As of startups in the shipping industry. That means that there is a lot of technology being developed for the industry during the last years. So right now there's the technology, and they can make it possible. So they will be the ones making this transition, and they're setting these targets, long targets, because at the end, when you build a fleet, maybe a vessel takes 20 times 20 years of lifetime. So the decisions that you take today will be the ones that will be in 20 years' time. So changing completely the main engine of a vessel is very, very expensive. So these decisions obviously don't take that often. So I mean, that's also one of the reasons that also makes this transition much slower.
Okay, very good. And I will ask you one personal question. Today is our day of energy. What are you doing personally to save energy?
So personally, right now we're working from home. So I'm saving energy with my car. I'm also saving energy with energy efficient devices at home. Also with the building. So you have the windows that are able to isolate. I mean, you can have solar panels also if your building enables it. I also have my own plants, and I plant my vegetables at home. So being able to not pollute that much also, and in terms of energy efficiency is much better. So that fruits and that vegetables don't have to be transported. There are a lot of things that us as a citizen can do. And obviously, in my case, working at Bound for Blue, I also feel that somehow I am impacting in the energy segment too with my work. So I think that's this general mode, like general view, what you are doing, not only as a citizen, as a professional, in your personal life too.
Totally agree. And what are your future plans? How do you see yourself in this whole world in a couple of years?
So what we want to do is in 5-year times have installed more than 180 vessels, which is maybe not that much if you see the whole fleet, which is 80,000. So that's not that much, but for a company like ours, that means a lot. So in our case, we're working to get to this point. So signing a lot of agreements with ship owners, convincing them that this technology works, and being a step closer to this standard in the shipping industry. So that's our main purpose, having a big impact in terms of emission savings and fuel savings in the shipping industry.
Okay, last question before we wrap up. What do you need the most to achieve that?
We need talent. So if there's anyone here that's hearing me, we are going to hire a lot of people in the following months. We need politicians also to push more. We need the industry to be much more open, or at least take less to be open. So we've seen a lot of advances during the last years, and there are a lot of ship owners pushing a lot and making these targets even worse for the industry. But we need cooperation between all of them. We don't need them to think about their business alone, but work together, because if not, this would not be possible. We need a lot of people also to work building these technologies. And I mean, we need a lot of people. I mean, things at the end of the day have to do with people. So I would say people to feel that this vision has to come through also, and that they feel it themselves.
Very good last message. Thank you, Cristina Muñoz from Bound for Blue. Thanks for having you. We are curious to hear more about you in the future. So please keep us updated and keep our audience updated. And thank you for this interview.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. Audience, we are now going to transition. At 1 p.m., just in 15 minutes, we will show you about what we are doing in Europe on very specific climate themes with different ClimAccelerators. We will have a panel discussion to talk on how they're boosting climate and entrepreneurship. We will now see a video from Martin, which will be explaining what are we doing with our ClimAccelerators from EIT Climate Kick in that space. And please, stay online, stay tuned. At 1 p.m., we are starting with the next session. See you soon.
My name is Martin Schott. I'm working for Climate Kick, based in Austria, for the ClimAccelerator, and within the team especially responsible for the themed ClimAccelerator programs. So we have 4 of them: the Clean Cities program, the Maritime program, the Carbon Removal, and the Circular Cities. So the ClimAccelerator in general wants to support as many startups as possible and help them to scale their business. In the short term, we want to really run the 4 themes all over Europe and get new partners on board, help the existing partners to to run a good program. And on the long term, we want to scale it globally so that the themes and more startups are supported not only in Europe, but also in other continents and countries.
Welcome to our Climate Week of Action. We are here to celebrate climate innovators and entrepreneurs from all over the world, and also to talk to our partners on how they are helping these innovations to go to market and to scale up, right? I'm Christian Daube, I'm leading the ClimAccelerator efforts, and we will be talking to them very soon about how they're boosting climate and entrepreneurship in Europe in very specific climate topics, right? Before I introduce the panel, let's tell you a bit more about who we are as EIT Climate Kick. As EIT Climate Kick, we are focused on building knowledge and creating and scaling innovation with a community of partners in Europe and all over the world, with the main purpose to move towards a climate resilient and hopefully positive world as soon as possible. That's what we're here for, and that's what our vision is. I think, audience, today is our day of energy. If you're working on energy innovations or ideas or projects, whether it's an idea or whether it's scaling internationally already, feel free to post it under our hashtag Destination 1.5. Please use our hashtag Destination 1.5 to really make your idea and innovation visible. At ClimAccelerator, we are focused to really support these guys and really help them to scale more and more startups all over the world. So we're trying to figure out what should we do best so that more and more ClimAccelerators can really start across very different countries in the world. And please, audience, feel free to ask my panelists a lot of questions. Be curious, challenge them a bit, and really we'll have time at the end for your questions coming up. So I do believe I have my panelists with me right now. Let's have a look. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Good.
Hello.
Good. We have.
Hello.
Yeah, we have Carolina de Novaes Ochoa from X23 here, basically. We have Alexandros Chalarambires here from Cyprus University and Chrysalis. And we've got Sharam Yalda here from Human Nation in Spain. Alexandros is in Cyprus, Carolina is in Italy. So please, feel free to introduce yourselves first. I will always start with ladies first, Carolina, then I'll go to Alexandros and then to Sharam. That will be the order of today. Introduce yourselves, and then I will continue with some questions, and then we will get into a discussion. Carolina, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Hello to Christian, to Alessandros and Sharon. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Carolina de Novaes Ochoa. I'm a project manager in X23, and I'm representing the organization and also Marika Masbuem, the Innovation Strategic Director in X23. So X23 is a business support organization which includes also a private research center based in Italy. And we also have a lab called XO23 Radical, which is a unique high-to-grow program designed to support the development, the growth, the expansion, but mostly the collaboration between the SMEs and startups. So the XO23 Radical is designed by X23 and backed by global partners such as Fast Capital and Amazon Service. Among our verticals that we have in the program, we are launching them in the next year. We have a specific one focusing on the ecotourism, and we are part of the Climate Accelerator community. So I don't know if I'm able to send in the chat in our contacts, but feel free to connect with us over social media and also LinkedIn. We are happy to welcome everyone and to discuss ideas for the future. So feel free to connect with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carolina. Alexandros.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alexandros Charalambidis. It is a pleasure to be with you today. I'm an associate professor at the Cyprus University of Technology. And research-wise, I'm working on solar energy, but at the same time, we're working on the development of a maritime climate accelerator. Over the past 2 years, with partners from Greece, Spain, Cyprus as well, and Germany, we've been discussing with the maritime industry to understand their needs, the solutions that they would need for the decarbonization of the industry, especially now with Fit for 55 and the IMO regulations. And based on these discussions, we started a maritime climate accelerator. managed by the Cyprus University of Technology. We have more than 20 companies from around the world supporting us, providing free services, free space, free equipment, free mentoring, free support to all our startups. We have about 30 startups participating in our program. And I want to kind of leave you with a quote I read earlier today by the CEO of BlackRock that said that the next $1,000 billion startups will be in the climate tech industry. So clean tech, climate, it's the place to be, and we're looking forward to today's discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandros. Sharam. Sharam, you're muted.
Hi, this is Sharam Yalda. You hear me well?
Perfect.
From Human Nation. I'm leading the team here at Human Nation. We started the design work for the ClimAccelerator circular InnoBooster for the fashion sector, and we did an alliance with the circular project. So I'm very happy to be here with you. Thank you for the invitation. We are focusing here as a kind of a trial with the fashion sector, which we think is a very important sector with 10% of the emissions. And what we're doing is recruiting 30 SMEs. So we're focused on SMEs, which can be, sole traders and make up 99% of the, social fabric in Europe. And we want to basically provide funding. We focus on European and national funding for innovation, but we're also looking with Climate Kick and the Accelerator program to see how we can attract private funding to all these people in the fashion and textile industry. But the main approach we have is to apply a regenerative approach to circular economy, system thinking, and to help smaller companies become more resilient and have a more social and resilient local economy based on circular economy and climate positive solutions.
Very good, thanks. And I will kick off with the first question to Carolina. Carolina, tell us a bit more about ecotourism and what's happening in that climate topic across Europe.
Okay, thank you. When we think about ecotourism, we need to think as well in the tourism industry. So what we can see is that over the last 2 years, the tourism industry has been facing unprecedented crisis. So due to the quarantine restriction and also the global lockdown, and despite the tough challenges we are facing, we believe that we are living a unique moment as well in the history. So with unique opportunities as well to change and improve our policies and pave the way for the best for the next generations. What we can notice when we think in tourism is that the consumer behavior is changing. We can see a lot of trends here. People are more concerned about their health, their personal safety, looking for authentic local experiences. And the interesting thing is that people are looking for sustainability, to a better way of life, and this includes also the tourism experience. So there is a momentum here that we need to build in order to make the sustainability in tourism something real. So we can see the increase of ethical consumer. People are looking for sustainability as a lifestyle. We can provide authentic experience to them. We can also mention the slow tourism, so the aim to reduce environmental impact and enjoy every moment of the trip. Also, we have the digital detox travels, the demand for resilience, as Sharon mentioned. Also, the demand for certification programs in the ecotourism, and the digitalization topic. So in all the cases, we can see that innovation is the key. And as we know, the startups are the masters of innovations. And so we can count on them to pave this path. Thank you.
You're active in the maritime space, very different, but what's happening there and across Europe?
Yes, exactly. It's completely different in the sense that in order to achieve the target set by EU and IMO, the technologies still don't exist. So it's not a matter of providing the right incentives or tax and pushing for it. One of the problems is that we need to develop these technologies as well. We all know that it will be a mixture of new fuels. Will it be hydrogen? Will it be ammonia? Or new energy power systems? Will it be sails, solar energy with batteries? And the complexity of the maritime industry is huge. You're talking with small boats, you're talking about yachts, you're talking about bunkers, about containers, ships that do small trips between the Greek islands, big tankers that will go from Japan all the way to the UK. So there isn't a simple solution. And this is why it's imperative with the Maritime Accelerator not only to support these new ideas that we might in the future solve the problem, but at the same time, you need to lobby with the governments in order to create favorable ecosystems that will nurture these startups. It's not it's not so easy. And again, a report came out from Israel a few days ago, and it said that if business and government leaders do not prioritize these actions in order to fight the climate change, especially in maritime, it will be a disaster for maritime, but also financially, it will be a disaster for the countries.
I think so as well. I think this is a good message, especially leading up to the United Nations Climate Conference in the next weeks, COP26. Thanks, Alexandros. And Sharam, I mean, you're based out of Spain, active all over Europe in that sense, in circular economy and fashion. Tell us a bit more. What's happening in that space?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I have to say thank you to also the European Commission for funding this program for us, because it was the first opportunity for us to get this COSME funding to support small, medium enterprises, which includes professionals and self-employed, sole traders. And we are able to put into practice with the 5 partners. It's led by the European Institute of Design and the various partners. You can see the Circular InnoBooster, the project. So you'll be able to see that on the web. But we're actually just closing the call today. So the important thing here for us is we think a lot of the funds are and the accelerator programs are focused on this kind of unicorn type of projects where they're looking exactly like what you were saying, Alexandro. This kind of BlackRock is looking for the big unicorns that are going to come and kind of solve this problem. And yes, it's true that we need some really big tech solutions, but let's not forget that 99% of people and enterprises depend on smaller scale local resilient solutions and don't want the big bang solutions. And also a lot of these big bang solutions, I think they're focused on the end of pipe, like we see in fashion. They're focused on recycling, they're focused on end of use, kind of what they call circular economy end of use. But what we want to focus on is first the human dimension. So what is our mindset? What is our purpose? How aligned are we with the future that's actually in front of us? In fact, the future is now as we know it. It's all happening. So how aware and conscious are we of actually what we are dealing with? And secondly, becoming aware that sometimes innovation doesn't have to be these big bang solutions. Sometimes it's about changing our mindset about how we consume, how we produce, exactly what your previous starter was saying about what we do in our personal lives, aligning our personal values with our business. A lot to do with collaboration. We like to call it, instead of accelerator, sometimes a collaborator, because we think the spirit of collaboration in business has been lost from a highly competitive mindset. And we're looking at creating zebras at the end, not unicorns, because we think unicorns belong in the clouds. They're huge, they grow very fast, and they create monopolies. But what about creating zebras that work together and collaborate, entrepreneurs that help each other, co-founders, but also entrepreneurs and businesses, SMEs, that help each other to create resilient local economies. They trade within each other as well. They don't have to always depend on these huge, long value chains. and corporate value chains. Why can we move towards this more resilient local circular economy? So I think a lot of it is to do with design thinking from a planet and eco-social centered perspective. So this is a kind of a mindset we're promoting. We want, at the end, we're also looking at the corporate structure. So what kind of enterprises do we want? For example, steward-owned companies are companies where the value is shared and they're not looking for one entrepreneur or set of co-founders that do the exit at the end of the accelerator path and sell to a big institutional fund, or they get absorbed by exactly institutional funds like BlackRock, Vanguard, and that control trillions of dollars of value, which essentially is funded into the 1% club, through these Panama Papers and the Pandora Box papers, everything that came out recently. So how do we create accelerators that actually accelerate growth in a lateral, more resilient and more local way with global thinking?
Very good points, and I totally agree. I will ask you a question, and then let's start opening up for some kind of debate. So in the last days, in the last sessions, we were more talking about what's happening in Africa, Latin America, Asia, and Europe as well. And now we're here talking really the first time on different climate themes. So what do you think? How can we really help more and more entrepreneurs and support more and more of these climate themes out there directly across Europe, across different regions? What do you think, Carolina?
Yeah, I think we are definitely key actors in this scenario. So I think also this event today, it's really important to show how the community is working as well, and what we are doing locally. So we are definitely key actors in all the climate change thing and the eco-sustainability stuff. So X23, for example, we are working in the innovation arena since a long time, and connecting the ecosystem dots for the best, for the local and also the international community. So this is our role, and here we can say that about innovation and support innovative companies to develop, grow, and collaborate. This is the key. So we believe competition is surpassed, and now is the time, as Saran say, for systemic collaboration, bringing benefits at scale. So a synergic and a cooperative approach is vital for sustainability to be achieved, not short-time perspective, but also long-time one. So we can be drivers and true leaders on this, paving the path and supporting others in the process of eco-transition. Sustainability development is about taking care the needs of the future generations, as well as our one. As Sharon said as well, the future is now. So long-term planning also requires the ability to sustain the actions over time. And we can only achieve that with continue and coordinate efforts.
Alexandros, what do you think?
Yes.
I was thinking about Carolina's points, and I think I totally agree. Alexandros, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with the long-term vision. When we started working on entrepreneurship and acceleration in Cyprus back in 2012, we had to put our own money in order to start our accelerator, to train the teams. We did it pro bono just because 10 years ago, no one knew anything about it. And even 10 years afterwards, it's not like we're making money out of it. We're still supporting ourselves, providing the impact and the support we can to the startups. And we focus on clean tech, especially for this sustainability and the long-term impact, even though we knew that personally we wouldn't gain financially. Because, if you support other companies, small apps or games, it's a lot faster. Clean tech, you need to invest long time. And the other advice I would say is based on the building of the community. You cannot copy paste something that's happening in Korea, in Israel, in Germany, and transfer it in your own country. Yes, you need support. Yes, you need the tools from these countries. Yes, you need the experiences. Yes, you need the connection. but you need to build a base, a community in your area or known area based on your real needs. The needs of the German maritime is not the same as the needs of the Kenyan maritime. You need local support.
Very good, very good. Sharam, what do you think about what they're saying?
Well, I think it's I totally agree. I mean, I think the long-term view is very important, and exactly it's a big challenge we have because we're in a real danger of going for these top-down solutions. And I think European Commission is leading very well in terms of policies and giving us the framework, but how we implement it, I think we needs to be bottom-up on a local and regional setting. But also talking about long-termism, I think the problem is if we rely on corporate and these kind of startups that are going for CEOs that have four-year terms or politicians that have 4-year terms, the problem is that we are relying on them to solve the problem for us, but we need entrepreneurs and communities that have a longer-term vision, that work together, startups that are not looking just for the exit. They want to create resilient local SMEs, that they want to stay where they are and give to the local community and give back and not send that money offshore, elsewhere. And so what they can do is, I totally agree with the Climate Accelerator, a model that you have, that you create open innovation. Sorry, the other question is about growth and scale. What do we mean by growth and scale? You can grow in resilience, you can grow in happiness, you can grow in collaboration, you can grow in wealth, value, but distributed wealth, not just one person's bank account going, shooting off into the space, literally, because some people are planning to go to another planet because they think this planet is no longer good enough for them. So, I think that, the question of scale and also scale, you can scale through replication. You don't have to scale through, having to be the monopoly that grows and becomes this is an old model. This is an old kind of military hierarchical mindset. Everybody talking about systems thinking, nature-based solutions is now talking about flatter network organizations. Even Amazon moved into a network organization, except they just put one person on top to channel all that wealth. But essentially, they took this what they call platform co-op model of open innovation. So I think we can now, we have the technology with internet, with blockchain to do this. But we have to really work together locally and recover our human and social dimension.
Very good words. How can we all do more in that sense, and how can we collaborate more to do all of this? What do you guys think? And maybe Carolina go first, but microphone is open.
Great. I totally agree with Sharon. This thing about resilience and also like grow happiness. I think the COVID brought a wake-up call for us for every kind of topic. So and when we think about the eco-sustainability one, there's a lot of pressure around it. So because the world faces today like twin challenges. In one side, the need to expand economic opportunities for growing a global population. And the other side, we need to address environmental pressures that without the care, we can undermine the ability to seize new opportunities. So when we think about the vertical one, our ecotourism one, the boosting new cooperation approach show a strategic value to solve the major challenges, especially for traditional SMEs. So hotels, restaurants, cafes, holiday accommodation, camping grounds, because they are still lagging behind in the green transition. And this is mainly due to the lack of skills, lack of competencies around the greening in tourism industry, but also to delay implementing digital and innovative solutions in their business, which can definitely bring a positive impact in the environment and the society. When we think about the tourism sector, we can see that it's really fragmented and heterogeneous. So it covers a wide range of industry, demonstrating that we have a very small group of large companies combined with a large group of SMEs and micro business. So that's why we need to think local as well. So the tourism enterprises, they operate at global level while delivering goods and service at a local level. So digital business like online travel agents, the accommodation platforms, they started a new chapter in the tourism industry by connecting the products and service with the customers. And they started to expand the visibility of SMEs. So the local points, right? So as consequence, we can see the increased pressure on them to meet consumer needs and demands for quality and efficiency. So definitely there's no one solution fits all, as we are saying. But while challenges can be different and at a different scale, the solutions can be similar, or at least the approach, let's say, to find the solution. So that's why in our program, we try to bring a concept, an innovative one, but straightforward, based on the tandem. So the competition in the market is here, it's there. But our way out is to find the collaboration among those who bring the innovation and those who are in need of it. So it's a simple but disruptive concept that brings benefits for all the parties involved. So our focus here is to stimulate collaboration and knowledge sharing between those traditional SMEs and innovative startups and innovators, bringing the market on a very tangible level. So while the investors are really important, and they always will be the key for the startup ecosystem, the market at the very end will keep having the last say on the company's survival. So that's why we think this approach, it's really important to bring resilience in the local level and innovative solutions.
And Alexandros, we just talked to Bound for Blue before, and she was saying, I mean, the maritime industry is a huge industry, still a lot of innovation and technology needed. I mean, what do you think? Like, what's needed, and how can you collaborate more in that sector with different organizations and different partners, let's say, even with Carolina or Sharam in that sense? I mean,
yeah. I'm a bit, in my mind, it's a bit conflicting as well on how it can be achieved. And what do I mean by that? On one hand, it's a competitive world. If one company will grow, it will be at the expense sometimes of another one. So they will want the new ideas, the new entrepreneurs on their own. At the same time, the companies do know that they cannot afford to invest alone and they need to partner with others. So I don't know what the solution is in order to bring everyone together. And because this is the same case when you're talking about islands. For example, I'm from Cyprus, it's a small island. We rely on income through the Panama and the Pandora Papers. So we want to diversify our economy and become a clean tech hub. So we are in competition with Greece and Italy and Malta. But at the same time, we have the same problems as Greece and Malta. So by working together, we can solve these problems. So I don't have the answer on how best to collaborate. In the case of maritime, though, as for the solutions, initially it's going to be software and efficiency and logistics and IT to solve the first problems until 2025, 2030. Beyond that, it's a complete hardware restructuring of the whole fleet. Either it's going to be new ships, new engines, new fuels, and obviously it's not going to be one fuel or one boat. It will be a mixture of solutions. And there you do need the big players. Cyprus, for example, will never have a shipyard to manufacture the new generation of fuel or a new generation of ships. We need to collaborate with the big players.
Yeah, very good, very good. Very good. And Sharam, I will ask you more a question from the view on circular economy, which may be touch basing with what Alexandros and Carolina are doing or the industries they're in. What do you think from that overall point of view on circular economy? I mean, what do you need really? How do you collaborate more, and how do you bring in more partners to do more?
Yeah, I think I mean, circular economy is a very broad also topic, but I mean, of course, recycling the material is important, and a lot of people and projects are already focused on recycling the material. But let's not forget, I mean, one of the most important principles of circular economy is designing out waste. So for example, does it make sense to to ship something over from China here? It might make economic sense, but it doesn't make carbon sense. It doesn't make sense from a point of view of even maybe time, from a point of view of resources, from a circular economy perspective. So I think eco design in the system is fundamental. Then also we have this concept increasingly emerging called about human-centered eco design. So putting the humans also in the center of this. I think that we are lacking at the moment an alternative kind of business support and innovation support ecosystem for these kind of businesses, because we're trying to fit a very different kind of what we're looking for objective by using the same systems, like the accelerators that we talked about, the MBAs, people coming out of business school, or entrepreneurs having a certain mindset, the students coming out with a certain education that's not fit, and they're not trained and ready for the world that they're actually facing. So I think that we need to create an alternative system from the education side, from business school, to the way we fund companies, because the funds are in the hands of very few institutional investors mainly, and they're not looking for long-term this kind of resilient growth and all these things we're talking about. They're looking still for the highest return and a race to the bottom. So if it's a higher return in China, in Cambodia, they will put the money there, and that's what unfortunately is the reality. So we need regulations to support a fourth sector, I think, that is aligned with the Green Deal, with the circular economy, with decarbonization. We need to provide tax incentives to companies that are solving the problem instead of adding to the problem. We need to premium those companies, and we need to create a safeguard around a whole business ecosystem and innovation ecosystem that's emerging. And we need to help that work together to create that ecosystem, because today it doesn't exist. So I think that sometimes we think about solutions and technology, but we don't look at the whole system. We don't look at our mindset and all the other things, cultural change we need to actually make it happen.
I couldn't agree more. Audience, please remember to raise questions to our three panelists and to be really curious and challenge them a bit more. Before we come to your questions, audience, I would like to ask you, each of you in the panel, one question. What would be your advice to entrepreneurs in Europe? Carolina, go first.
Okay, so I think the advice is to enjoy what we have available. I mean, we have a lot of resource, online tools, online courses, amazing communities. But as Sharon said, it's not like something concentrate. So it's important, the engagement here. People need to engage more, do network more, to find concrete synergies, because this is crucial for our path towards the sustainability issues. So I believe that we need to enjoy this digital and global world to boost knowledge and sharing practice. But we do need like sustainability drivers, like a very coordinated action to achieve the best. Otherwise, we keep like lost in a lot of resource as well. So we do need more leadership in that, and I believe this community, for example, it's a really turning point and a starting point as well to connect people and organization working on the same purpose. So I would say that we need to enjoy the maximum that we also the European Commission provide to us in Europe, to start like thinking in like global European context and then apply to our local context.
Very good one. Alexandros, what's your advice to entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. Obviously, in addition, though, an advice I will have to this. Can you well? Hello.
Go ahead.
Okay, I froze. So can you hear me well now?
Yes.
Okay,
You're free.
perfect.
You're freezing again. Alexandros, you're freezing again. We will continue with
Advice I
Sharon.
would give to entrepreneurs is that you want to go to I'll give you a second just my connection. I'll answer in a while.
Okay, you come after me if you like, Alexandra. Okay.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, sure. So I would just jump to the opportunity, and I would say that I think that I would say to the entrepreneurs, that if we can get out of the kind of individual mindset of I'm going to become the founder, the unicorn, and solve all these problems. I think we have so many societal challenges, like from even the personal health point of view, from mental health point of view, from societal health point of view, cultural challenges. This problem with a distribution of income is huge. What's happened since the financial crisis of 2008 and now with COVID, it's a massive destabilizing societal challenge we have. We have the climate crisis and all the other ecological crises like biodiversity loss. So we have so much work to do, and I think all of us should start taking an entrepreneurial mindset instead of looking for fixed jobs, and just work together and create these resilient communities where we can innovate, we can work together and create solutions together for common challenges where there's a market for it, of course, because there's demand. Divert the funds that are now coming to solve this so they don't all go into these concentrated solutions that are managed by the big players. So I think that there's a lot we can do, but it's a lot to do with what we mean by entrepreneurship and this mindset of being innovators, entrepreneurs, which we should all be really as human beings. I think we're very creative creatures, and we should work together and solve these problems.
Very good, very good. Alexandros, go ahead. Alexandros, we're losing you again.
Well, hopefully you can hear me well now.
I can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
The advice I would have to the startups is that, I would say it in a bad way, hopefully it will resonate with them, is that no one cares about your idea. And it's the same thing goes to academics. No one cares about the research that you want to do. And I remember when I had an idea about a startup, I think I applied 6-7 times for Horizon or National, and it was always a no. And in the end, it was a yes because of all the training and what I understood. What I mean by no one cares about your idea is that you need to either solve or fill a gap. No one will give you money, no one will buy your product if no one cares for it. And it's not the customer's fault for not knowing that they want your idea or for not buying the product or the service. Find the people that do care. The startup I had back in 2012, it was about ecotourism, was to promote green hotels, to promote green restaurants. No one cared 10 years ago. We went and see big companies in the US, in the UK. No one cared. And it's like, well, why don't they care? Green hotels is something good. And clients didn't want it. Customers didn't want it. Start low-hanging fruit. Find the ones that do care about what you're offering.
I couldn't agree more, and I think I've seen many entrepreneurs failing in that sense, and I really, really agree, and I want to highlight this. I saw Carolina smiling because your idea was around green hotels and green restaurants, and she's in that space. So I think she would agree as well, right, Carolina? Thumbs up if you agree.
Yeah, I will speak with her later. Maybe I can restart my startup.
Maybe it's a good moment.
Even though it's not a startup anymore, it's just a company registered Cyprus inactive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now it's the time, maybe.
Very good. Just give me a few seconds, panelists. I will check out the questions we may have from the audience. Just give me a few seconds and then I'll come back to you. All right, we have at least one question coming up. And I will ask this maybe first to Sharam, and then you may add to the other panelists. Is the EU doing enough to help startups and scale climate innovations? What do you think? Are they doing enough or not? Sharam.
Well, I think it's all relative. I mean, EU is leading globally, in terms of how innovative and helpful they've been in bringing together all these funds and channeling the programs through Horizon Europe, through the European Innovation Council, through the LIFE program. So all these way of also through the regional funds and the national, the regional funds. No, but I think that again they are using some of the old tools that are in their hands. Like the European Innovation Council is looking for the unicorns because they want to replicate the American model of Silicon Valley, which I think is a bit outdated to solve these challenges we're having today. So I would say it's all relative. I mean, if we compare it with Russia, China, Africa, I mean, is Europe doing it? I mean, a lot of people, it's a bit fashionable to throw eggs at the European Commission now, because, of whatever political reasons, sometimes it's politicized. But I think they're doing an excellent job because they're leading the world in decarbonization targets, ambition, the new tax they're trying to put to protect the local European economy, from this carbon leak. So yeah, they're doing a huge amount, but I think that depending on institutions to solve our problems and depending on technology to solve our problems, I think is a mirage. I think it's really up to us to get our hands dirty, roll up our sleeves, and really on this local human level start tackling this. And a lot of the problems are actually just, I love what Dalai Lama once said. I heard this post on Twitter said, sometimes you do a lot more by not doing something than by doing it. Sometimes we forget that, sometimes inaction in some ways of actually refusing, and the waste pyramid, sometimes we forget that the top of the pyramid is refuse, and you can have huge impact, by just not following this, mindset that has been created over the last 200 years of what we understand is prosperity, wealth, comfort, well-being, what we think success means, so there's a lot of things have come out of it. So something in between,
Good. Carolina, Alexandros, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think it's also relative because European Commission is definitely doing a great job when it comes to support the SMEs, as the question was about that. But at the very end, the impact of the actions depends on the ones who are implementing the action. So while we have this amazing support, like from the European leadership, like the Commission, we still need to have the concrete actions from others. So I think it's relative, and the main challenge, in my view, is the find of synergies at the very end, the collaborations. I think this is tricky and challenging for all the consortium, for example.
Very good, Alexandros. Yeah, I see you nodding a lot. What do you think?
No, I agree, and nothing more to add, actually. I think they're spot on.
Okay. I will ask you one last question, maybe, and then we'll wrap up a bit. What do you need the most, each of you, to do more? What do you think is the biggest restraint, and what do you need the most? And this may be a message to the COP26, the United Nations Climate Conference, in the next weeks as well. What do you need the most to do more? Carolina, again, go ahead, and then Alexandros and Sharam to close.
Yeah, I believe we need to do more. I mean, in terms of community or like our program.
You as an organization, your program. You as an organization, your program.
Yeah, I think what we need more here is to identify the challenges, the real challenges, the local ones. Because as we are talking about ecotourism in our perspective here, and we are talking about a large number of SMEs and local people like working on that, I believe we need to understand the challenges. So right now we need to work on that, to maybe consult the community to understand what they are facing, the main difficulties, so that we can approach better the solutions, and also to design a proper program for them.
Alexandros, and then Sharam.
Yeah, in my case, I would say that I need to focus. Yes, you need more money. Yes, you need more people. Yes, you need more support from the government. Yes, you need more support from the industry. But as we said, this is a bottom-up approach. If you and your community commit to your target, the rest will follow. I've seen it a lot of times where you might say I don't have enough money, it's an excuse. Or I don't have the right people, it's an excuse. And in our case, I can't blame others. You see other regions doing it. You see other organizations doing it. And so why not you as well? In my case, I would say, and that's one of the, let's say, suggestions to the entrepreneurs, advisors, focus on one thing. Don't try in the same way I'm doing it. I'm an academic, so I teach. I have my research programs, I have my family, and I'm also doing a maritime accelerator. But I only have 24 hours. I shouldn't be doing all of that. I should only be doing one. And that's why I don't blame anyone else. What I need is more time then.
Very good point. Very good point. Sharam. You're muted, Sharam, I think.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I totally agree with what you said. I think that focus is very important, and I would say sometimes to get focus is like they used to say, turn off the TV, and now it's like just disconnect sometimes from all this noise. And I would say from a political point of view also, there's a lot of distraction to somehow try and keep the status quo running in all kinds of different colorful ways, and I think we need to be really focused and really believe that this is a very serious issue, that we're in, and that we can, solve it if, like you say, we come together and don't try and do it alone. Let's try and create communities again. We've lost neighborhoods, we've lost communities, we've lost the sense of, even who we are. We've become mechanized, and institutionalized in a way. So I think we need to kind of unlearn a lot of things, and that's why I'm even working with the Theory U, with the Presencing Institute, because they are talking. I'm looking at different tools to do this unlearning and relearning, because we have a lot to unlearn, and work together again, and really start believing that we can do it. We have to stay positive, also to do away with all this negative information out there, whether it's political, divide and rule tactics of left and right. This is a common challenge we have as a humanity. There is no, the left is not going to solve it, the right is not going to solve it. We have to solve it together.
Very good. I totally agree. Thank you, all three of you, for this panel on how you're boosting entrepreneurship in very specific climate topics in Europe. Thanks to Carolina de Novaes Ochoa from X23, who will soon be leading the Ecotourism ClimAccelerator. Thanks to Alexandros Charalambides from Cyprus University, leading the Maritime ClimAccelerator. And thanks to Sharam Yalda from Humanation, leading the CircoAx, a Circular InnoBooster ClimAccelerator. Thank you for this panel. Say goodbye to the audience, please.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you so much for
Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Sure. For the audience out there, please stay tuned. This afternoon at 4 p.m. Central European Time and at 5 p.m. Central European Time, we will have some sessions with our Journey participants as well as our Young Innovator participants. So please stay tuned, be curious about what we are doing in the education programs and climate in different parts of Europe. See you tomorrow again as well on the next day of our Climate Week of Action. Thank you for listening in and see you soon.